Enzo Fernandez gives the green light for Chelsea to talk to Man City about making a transfer and reuniting with Enzo Maresca. Chelsea have turned down the opportunity to sign Miles Lewis Skelly from Arsenal, and that one I'm not particularly surprised about. But what I am surprised about is supposedly Nicholas Jackson is a target for Atletico Madrid. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And you're getting Matt After Dark today. I've had a long day. I did the collab with Jan earlier. Go and check that one out. Jan from Football Therapy. We had a chat about the midfield, which is very interesting. So yeah, go and have a watch of that one if you haven't already. I just did a live stream for an hour and a half on the Blue Lounge with Mo and Co. We had a really good time, a really great chat about some stuff going on there. And then I come off, I have a drink, and then I come back up, and lo and behold, there's stuff to talk about again. And I am here for you guys. So regardless of when it comes, whatever time it is, we're going to talk about it. But you're not getting the fancy bells and whistles today. You're just getting my blue background. I'm raw dogging it today, and hopefully it's not a problem. Right, so first up, we're going to talk about Enzo Fernandez, right? And Pice posted this via Tribuna FTBL. Enzo Fernandez gives green light to listen to proposal of Man City. City intend to try and advance quickly, but the negotiations will be tough with Chelsea. Oh man, I've been talking about Enzo Fernandez all night. All day, actually. I spoke with Jan about Enzo Fernandez. We talked about Enzo Fernandez on the live stream tonight. Bang, I get off, and who's in my face? It's Enzo Fernandez. And look, I kind of have been shipping this, actually. I know it's a lot of money, but I've been talking about Enzo Fernandez being an option for Man City because they have a space for him at the end of the day. So Rodri's gone, but Rodri's already, well, on his way to Barcelona at the very least, but he's already kind of been replaced with Elliot Anderson. It looks like they're going to sign Boadi as well. Who they also lost, though, is Bernardo Silva, right? You know, a more attacking, playmaking number 8. And Enzo Fernandez kind of neatly would fill that spot, and obviously Enzo Maresca is confident that he knows how to get the best out of him. So look, it's a lot of money. Is it going to be 120 mil straight up, or is it going to be a complicated deal? As I said, the negotiations will be tough because Chelsea won't go below 120, but can they structure a deal that's like 90 mil plus 30 mil add-ons, or 100 mil plus some add-ons and a chunky sell-on clause if he does eventually get that famed move to Real Madrid that he's been looking for? Is there a conversation to be had where they can get it over the line? Enzo Fernandez clearly wants to leave Chelsea. At the end of the day, after Madrid came out and said that no, we're not interested in Enzo Fernandez, almost the day after, we were hearing about Arsenal and Man City being interested. So you got to think, Javier Pastore has been on this generational run of trying to put news into the sphere about clubs being interested in Enzo Fernandez, but lo and behold, this one seems to have some legs to it. So look, Enzo Fernandez, I just think whatever way you look at it, in our team at the moment, I think he's a square peg in a round hole, and that's not to say that he's not a good player. Obviously, world-class player. Like, I've never said anything other than that. I just don't think, and I spoke about it with Jan, and I talked about it tonight on the live stream, personally, my feeling with Enzo Fernandez is he's not the guy that Xabi Alonso wants in his midfield, and when you think about where was he going to play further up, like we've got Cole Palmer, we've got Esteval, we've got Morgan Rogers, we've got a lot of players that are going to occupy those number 10 and half-space positions that maybe also offer a little bit more to that side of the game. Enzo Fernandez is such a really specific type of player. Do you know what I mean? Like his number 8 to number 10, you know, what you got? He's not a number 9, but somewhere in between an 8 and a 10. That role is, you know, obviously where he seems to flourish the best. And, you know, I get the conversations, like, at the end of the day, if we do keep him, then he just does whatever he's told, doesn't he? He plays in a half space, or he plays a number 6 role when he changes the way he plays, because what he can't do is sit on the bench, do you know what I mean? Or not play and be in the bomb squad. Like, you know, obviously that's just not going to happen, because that will curtail his career at the end of the day. So, you know, I just think it kind of suits all parties for Enzo Maresca to go. If Enzo Maresca does go, then that frees up space in the squad and comfortably and confidently allows Chelsea to go in for the likes of an Alex Scott or an Adam Wharton or Fabian Ruiz or Martin Zubimendi, do you know what I mean? All these crazy midfielders that we've been linked to. But at the same time, I just think that it makes sense. So, look, if Enzo, I'm not going to be angry if Enzo Fernandez stays, but I just think that it's not even just about him to City or him to Madrid. I just think Enzo Fernandez out of Chelsea has had legs to it for a long time. And we're talking about long before the transfer window. That, the international break, obviously, where he started twerking for Real Madrid and flirting with them, do you know what I mean? Saying, oh, I really want to live in Madrid one day. You know, all of that kind of stuff. Like, it just feels like it's been on the horizon for a while. And because of that, like, Also, it's just been so quiet for a little while. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, we've had very little in the way of Enzo Fernandez coming out and being like, I'm a Chelsea player. I've got a 6-year contract. The guy's literally got a 6-year contract. And he's definitely not committed to the club at any point. And it feels like we'll keep him, but we'd be happy to sell him, and he'll stay, but he'd rather go. So the ideal solution for Chelsea, and probably for him, is to get the money in for him, allow Xabi Alonso to reinvest that and build the squad the way he wants to build the squad, and Enzo Fernandez gets his move. That's what I think. I know a lot of you disagree. Like I say, absolutely none of this at all is about me saying that I don't think Enzo Fernandez is a very good player. Of course, he's a really good player. I just think that looking at this, you know, even in pre-season, do you know what I mean? Even in pre-season, like, we don't see any of the players in that partner to Caicedo type of position playing the way that Enzo Fernandez does. So he either learns a new role or gets used further up. And like I say, we've got a lot of attacking players now. So guys, let me know what you think about Enzo Fernandez in the comments. Is this the one? And you know, maybe it's only like a short deal or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it's only for like 3 years instead of like 5 or 6 or whatever it is, because Enzo Fernandez won't want to orchestrate himself into the same situation with any other club as he has with Chelsea. He's obviously kept signing these extensions and signing these massive long deals and stuff. And at this point, after 3 years, he's still got 6 less because we had the opportunity to extend his contract, so he's not going to want to do that again. So if he does sign a contract at Man City, I wouldn't expect it to be more than 5 years, but probably less than 5 years at the end of the day. Enzo Maresca obviously really likes him and thinks he knows how to get the best out of him. I think a lot of people have their own opinions on Enzo Fernandez one way or the other, and I think you can look at the goals and you can be like, man, what a player, but you can also look at the attitude and, you know, the positional fit in the team based on what he seems to be best at. And that's the thing, is we don't want to be putting any players in positions that they're not built for at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? We need to, and Chelsea been doing that for years, man. Like, not always in midfield. A lot of the time we'll buy shadow strikers like Timo Werner and Christopher Nkunku, and we'll try and get them to, and Kai Havertz even was kind of that as well, weren't we? These kind of players, and then we'll try and play them up top or on the left, and it just doesn't end up working. I feel like, personally, for me, we're in danger of doing that with Enzo Fernandez. So guys, like I said, let me know what you think in the comments about the Enzo Fernandez situation, but it sounds like things might be starting to heat up. Next up, we're going to talk about Lewis Skelly. So because I did the collab today and then I had the live stream later, I actually didn't get the chance to react to the news that Arsenal had offered us Lewis Skelly, right? So we'll do that now. We were linked with him. Supposedly Arsenal had made the offer. There is some news floating around about them being interested in Pedro Neto as well. But not long after that news came out, more news came out saying Lewis Skelly is committed to Arsenal. He wants to prove himself in the squad and try and get into Arteta's team. He started the Champions League final, I'm pretty sure. So, you know, there's obviously a lot of talent in there. And now we're seeing this from Pice, which is posted via D King Telegraph. Chelsea and Man United, because he was offered to Man United as well, have turned down the chance to sign Lewis Skelly after being contacted by an intermediary associated with Arsenal left back. Arsenal value him in the region of £45 million. So my whole thing to begin with Lewis Skelly is, albeit he's more Premier League experience, like, we've already got Valentin Barco, and I'm not saying Barco's better than Lewis Skelly. What I am saying is we've got Barco at the moment, and it's not immediately obvious where we're going to use him. Do you know what I mean? If we were going to loan out or sell Barco, we can't sell Barco, we've just bought him, but if we were going to send Barco out somewhere else, okay, maybe there's a spot for that rotational player, kind of as I thought Barco might be, but we don't need 2 of them, do we? And look, I think Blue Code would probably like the idea of this, but I think Xabi Alonso, you know, he's been playing as a midfielder. He's not really the profile that we need. He's maybe not got quite enough about him to partner Moises Caicedo. So I can't lie and say that I'm really disappointed about this one. Like, I like Lewis Skelly. I think he looks like a good player. I still hope to see him get into the England team in the future someday. But at the same time, I'm not super disappointed that we're not going through with this one. And the last big piece of news for the evening, God, I've done so much work today, it's been wild. Pice posted this via Gerard Romero, which is a name I seem to remember from last transfer window, actually. Just in, Atletico Madrid have a new name that's quite hot internally. The name is Nicholas Jackson of Chelsea. So does this mean that, because I know that over the last few days Julian Alvarez has been talking to Atletico Madrid about wanting to go to Barcelona, even though Atletico Madrid have been coming out throughout the World Cup and like all the windows so far and being like, no, absolutely not, you're not going anywhere, you're an Atletico player, we don't want to sell you. Has Julian Alvarez finally backed them into that corner where they're going to need to sell? So they're looking for strikers potentially, and this would be a really interesting one. We want 65 mil for him. Does that go up I mean, I just thought the Aston Villa stuff was nailed on, man. But you never know. Like, you never know. Nicolas Jackson at Atletico Madrid is interesting, you know, because he's that kind of wingery striker, isn't he? Not albeit not quite as good at the moment, but Griezmann was a similar profile, right? A wide player that was, you know, kind of converted into a forward. Nicolas Jackson, similar wide player that's been converted into a forward. I think the next few days are going to be mental. I think the next few days are going to be absolutely wild. I think transfers are really going to start heating up. We still haven't really heard anything back about incomings since the Alex Scott bid, right? The Alex Scott bid was rejected. And that clearly told you that there's a want for a midfielder there. Benoit Badiashile seems to be getting closer to Napoli. Something is going on at Crystal Palace with, there's talks about Didacia Champong, Adam Wharton under the breath of the news is still being kind of rustled about as well. And now there's multiple suitors for Nicolas Jackson. And look, if they come in with 65 mil for him, I think we just sell him. Do you know what I mean? I think we just sell him. I think that by now, after having him for a few weeks or whatever and seeing him in a few games, I think Xabi Alonso would have been like, I'm keeping this guy. Because when Xabi Alonso came in initially, we saw this big list of players that were untouchable. The word about Nicolas Jackson throughout the entire window has been Nicolas Jackson will get the opportunity to prove himself in pre-season, but is not guaranteed a position. Just a crazy one, man. Just a crazy one, really. Like I say, I thought the smart money was on Aston Villa, bearing in mind that we've spent 170 mil on Morgan Rogers, do you know what I mean? And because Badadi Bali went to go and do that deal, it sounded like something might have been going on. So, look, this isn't anything to say that Atletico Madrid have approached Chelsea about him yet. This isn't anything to say that, we're even entertaining it or whatever. At the moment, it's just a piece of news saying that Nicolas Jackson is of interest to Atletico Madrid, but there is also still the Aston Villa thing. But either way, if we've got multiple suitors for this player, I think he just goes, doesn't he? So, guys, I'm going to keep this one relatively short because it's very late, but I am going to obviously get up and release more content tomorrow, so you'll see me again shortly. I've been on people's screens a lot today. But let me know what you think about everything that we've talked about today in the Matt After Dark Raw Dog video. First up, Enzo Fernandez has supposedly given the green light to Manchester City, and they are keen to advance the deal quickly, but the negotiations will be tough. So is it, like I say, going to be some sort of case of it's actually like 90 mil plus add-ons or 100 mil plus add-ons and sell-on clause or something like that? Let me know what you think in the comments. Chelsea have turned down Lewis Skelly. Not particularly disappointed, to be completely honest. I don't really necessarily see what he adds to the team that we're missing at the moment, especially when we've got Valentin Barco, who's a very similar profile, albeit Lewis Skelly obviously has got Premier League experience, but he didn't get that much game time towards the back end of last season either, did he? And finally, Nicolas Jackson, supposedly of interest to Atletico Madrid. I guess it makes sense. You get to this point in the window, don't you? And it's all about the merry-go-round. Something pops, in this case, Julian Alvarez, and then all of a sudden people start moving all over the place. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it might be a case of Julian Alvarez goes to Barcelona and then Nicolas Jackson goes to Atletico Madrid, and then Chelsea have got the money freed up and they go and buy Alex Scott, and then Bournemouth go and move on someone to replace Alex Scott. Do you know what I mean? It's like these kind of transfers at this point in the window when things need to be done quickly because the season is literally just around the corner. We're less than 2 weeks away from the opening game of the season. So maybe things are really going to start knocking down now, and I have a feeling that they will. Nice one, guys. Thanks very much for sticking around until the end of the video. If you did, sorry, it's just a short one, but like I say, I've got a lot more content coming for you. I'm recording another episode of the Talking Chelsea podcast with Jay tomorrow, so that's going to be coming out soon. I promise you, I'm going to get sick of my face if you aren't already. Nice one. I hope you're all having a lovely evening, and I'll catch up with you very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.